Hi, I'm Brianna, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So in the last video, I reported what Danny Garcia had to say about Tim Bradley. He clapped back at him because Tim Bradley took shots at the PBC fighters, saying they needed to man up and fight the best welterweight in the world, which was Terence Crawford, according to Tim Bradley. Now, Errol responds, he already responded to Tim Bradley, and if you guys missed it, go ahead and check out the video on my channel. But today, Danny Garcia basically piggybacked off of what Errol Spence said, and once again, he said Tim Bradley, he said he's Top Rank's puppet. And you know, he admitted, he said, I was a big fan of Tim Bradley's until he said this kind of stuff. Like that Tim Bradley would accuse him of not fighting fighters, or accuse them, PBC fighters, of not fighting Terence Crawford being on the other side of the street, when Tim Bradley himself never fought any guys from PBC, even when Tim Bradley was ordered to fight Errol Spence. So Danny Garcia was calling Tim Bradley a hypocrite. And there's no doubt about it, Danny Garcia made some valid points. But this still does not excuse Danny Garcia for not taking on pound for pound best fighter in the world, Terence Crawford. So Danny Garcia, he did an interview today, and I'm gonna go ahead and play the clip so you guys can hear what he had to say. Shout out to AB Boxing News. They're the ones that conducted the interview. So I'm gonna play the clip and then I'm gonna give you my take on what he says. Check it out, guys.
Would you fight Crawford?
I fight anybody, like I said before. I'm in this sport to fight the best and make money.
Right.
At the end of the day, I'm in this sport to fight the best and make money. This is what I do. Like, I already fought him for free in the amateurs.
Right. You might as well get paid.
Show me the
doing that.
money.
Right.
If you pound for pound, show me the money. Let's get this popping. But
so you don't have that approach to he's with Top Rank and you with PBC.
if the fight makes enough money, if the fight makes enough sense,
right.
It's just like Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather. They was one Top Rank, one was premier boxing. You feel me? And they made it happen because why? It makes sense. A lot of money. But if it don't make, to split it against two fighters, it probably won't make a lot of sense unless it's generating a lot of money. And I know I'm gonna bring my money. I know I'm gonna generate my money from my side.
Right.
It's all about, at the end of the day, that's more than just fighters. Like, I could come up, I could sit up here and say anything to you, but that's big. That's more than boxing. That's politics.
All right, guys. Now let's unpack this. The first thing I want to address is you heard Danny Garcia say it's all about the money. It's about the money, the money, the money. Show me the money. You heard him. He even went so far as to saying, I'm gonna generate my money, like basically saying I'm gonna do my part when it comes to generating money. The irony of him saying this is in his last fight, Danny Garcia made $1 million against Adrian Granados. In Terence Crawford's last fight against Kyle Velasquez, Terence Crawford made $4 million. At least he was guaranteed $4 million. Meaning when the total revenue all came in, Terence Crawford most likely made more than he was guaranteed, which was the $4 million. And that's the reason why you guys see him doing backflips right here on this clip. So when you hear Danny Garcia say, it's all about the money, show me the money, Danny already knows that money will not be a problem or a roadblock when it comes to negotiating with Terence Crawford. Realistically, Terence Crawford has been outperforming Danny Garcia in every single category, from the performance inside the ring to the numbers outside of the ring. For example, whenever Danny Garcia and Terence Crawford are in the ring with a fighter who's not on their level when it comes to popularity, and they have to basically promote the whole fight themselves just with their name, Terence Crawford always does better numbers than Danny Garcia. Matter of fact, when Danny fought against Adrian Granados, people actually knew who Granados was, and that fight pulled in 1 million views. Terence Crawford fought against Kyle Velasquez, someone that no one had even heard of, and that fight generated 1.5 million views. And if you guys are looking at the graphics on the screen right now, when Terence Crawford fought against Benavidez, he had the #2 most viewed fight on cable. Matter of fact, he did that 2 years in a row because he did it when he fought against Andongo as well. So once again, when you look at the fact that Danny Garcia made $1 million in his last fight and Crawford made over $4 million in his last fight, clearly Danny Garcia is going to get the money that he wants in that fight because he can't ask for 3 or 4 times the amount that he's ever made before. It would have to be around the amount that he's already made. Of course, it would be more, but you can't say, I want $10 million. The most Danny Garcia has ever made in one fight is $2 million. That's right. Did you guys know, even when Danny Garcia was in big fights like Sean Porter or against Sean Porter, against Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia made $1.2 million in the Porter fight. He made $2 million in the Thurman fight. When Terence Crawford fought against Jose Benavidez, he made $3.6 million. And once again, I'm only giving you the numbers that they're guaranteed to make, okay? These are the purses that they're guaranteed to make. Crawford was guaranteed $5.5 million against Amir Khan. Danny Garcia said it's all about fighting the best and making the money that he deserves. If that is the case, if that's true, then Danny Garcia should be running after a Terence Crawford fight. Because once again, if the most he's ever made was $2 million, then Terence Crawford is going to be doing Danny Garcia a huge favor if he gets in the ring with him, which we already know he wants to. If Danny Garcia was willing to get in the ring with an undefeated Keith Thurman, if he was willing to get in the ring with Sean Porter for $2 million or less, then there's no way he can turn down even an offer of $3 million from Bob Arum to fight Terence Crawford. I mean, that's just my dollar amount. He might even get offered more than $3 million. But once again, if you were willing to fight Keith Thurman for $2 million, why wouldn't you be willing to fight Terence Crawford for $3 million? And this is the exact reason why it's time for Terence Crawford to get aggressive. You know what they say, man, a closed mouth don't get fed. It's time for Terence Crawford to start being aggressive when it comes to calling out fighters like Danny Garcia or whoever else that he wants to fight with PBC. We know Errol Spence is out right now, but when it comes to Danny Garcia, you know, instead of saying stuff like after a fight, when you're asked who you want to fight, instead of you saying, you already know who I want, no, he needs to be aggressive. He needs to be calling out Danny Garcia. In fact, he needs to have Bob Arum reach out to Danny Garcia's people and say, how much do you guys want? How much is it going to take to make this fight? And once Danny Garcia gives his dollar amount, and once again, they look at how much Danny Garcia has been making in the past and how much Terence Crawford's been making in the past, then we'll get an honest answer from Danny. And once Bob Arum and Terence Crawford agree and say, okay, we can pay you that, then we will know if Danny is really willing to take a Terence Crawford fight. If he turns down the fight then Bob Arum and Terence Crawford, they could say, look, man, we offered Danny Garcia the exact amount of money he wanted and he still turned down the fight. That puts all the pressure in the world on Danny. This is what Terence Crawford and Bob Arum need to do. No more just sitting back and saying, well, you know, let's see if they fight us. No, they really need to push the envelope. They really need to push the envelope. Danny is sitting over here doing interviews saying, I'll fight anybody and, you know, just show me the money. Well, Bob and Terence, they need to go ahead and show Danny Garcia the money and call his bluff. Now, I will say in defense of Danny Garcia, he was willing to fight Errol Spence. I mean, he surprised the whole boxing world when he jumped in that ring and called out the former boogeyman of the welterweight division. And the reason why I say former, because now Terence Crawford holds that title. But I think when it comes to the whole Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence, I truly believe Al Heyman had already started pushing Danny Garcia to take that fight. He let him know he was going to get paid very well, and that's the fight that he wanted to make. So Danny Garcia, he agreed to take the Errol Spence fight. Until, of course, Errol Spence got into that bad car accident, and now Danny Garcia is facing someone else. But this is the reason why I believe Bob Arum needs to really reach out to Danny Garcia, even if they have to sit down and discuss this. They need to really have a sit down and talk about this to see if Danny Garcia is serious or not. Because according to Danny Garcia, this is all about the money. Show me the money is what he says. So Bob Arum and Terence Crawford, all they have to do is reach out to Danny and say, are you serious? Do you really want this fight? How much money are you asking for? And then we will know if Danny Garcia is serious. Let's see how serious he is. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.